Hello guys, this is Connor, and today we have another ATG headquarters video, and this week we're covering the topic of jumping and going through a shock method routine that I like to use and that members that we coach through on the app like to use to not only improve their ability to jump higher, but also kind of strengthen the knees in the process and make sure they're ready to go through each step of the progressions for jumping higher. And today with me I have Ruben, who is a level 3 ATG certified coach, and he actually recently became a dad and is looking to dunk. So Ruben, thank you for joining me in today's video.
Yeah,
and
pleasure.
We're both looking forward to showing you how to go through each step of this process, and you can join us for step 1.
So how do I know that I'm ready for this routine?
So what we have in the ATG app is we have lower body standards that we like people to achieve before getting into jumping or other shock training methods, just because the act of jumping or sprinting puts a lot greater demand than these movements like a reverse step up or a split squat or a VMO squat that we like people to get to a certain standard at before doing these more intensive exercises. We want our ability to exceed our demand so that when we do get into these jumping exercises, that the risk of injury is much lower. So we could do this in another video and cover what standards that is that we're looking for to address before getting into jumping. But you could just know a lot of them focus on the knees, the ankles, the hips, and the hamstrings, just to kind of round out ability in the lower body and make sure that we're strong enough to be able to start introducing even the simplest level that we're going to start with as step 1.
Awesome. I'd love to see that video as well. I think that's a great idea for a future video. What do you think? Do you think this would be a good progression before going into sport, going full out into sport, or is this something that you can do with sport?
Yeah, so I think this definitely can be something that you use before sports. The sport itself is going to be very intense, and what this does is it does a good job of really making sure that we're not progressing too quickly at the risk of injury. Okay. These movements are all very scalable. We've had people of all ages even do a lot of these exercises, which I can cover the different progressions in this video. But the sport itself is a little bit harder to scale just because in the heat of the moment, let's say you're playing basketball or playing volleyball or a sport that's very intensive, you may find yourself in a position that you haven't yet trained for. So that's what these exercises are going to be able to help with.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. Let's do it.
Yes, sir. So the first exercise we have in this shock training routine is backward sprinting. And the reason we like to use this as a step number 1 is because it's very scalable. Backwards sprinting can go back to even backwards jogging or even backwards walking. Yep. And they actually did a study on people doing backwards sprinting. And it was a group of 13 to 15-year-old athletes, and that group that sprinted backwards versus the group that sprinted forwards. The backwards group actually got faster over time than the forwards group. So the body's ability to adapt simply to backwards sprinting translates to us being able to go forward pain-free, and which is going to help us jump higher at a pain-free level. So as you can see here, I can start as slowly as just backwards walking and over time get a little bit quicker. And then when we get to the end here, we're going to walk back as our rest. And what we like to do is 200 meters down and back. So depending on the length of your gym, this may take 5 or 10 trips. And there's nothing wrong with that. We're just trying to really pick up speed over the course of 4 or 5 rounds.
Yeah, so you're progressively adding more force and you're getting stronger in the muscles that protect you when you're going forward.
Exactly, yeah. And with stronger muscles, then it allows our tendons to work as well. So we're really strengthening in these positions to prepare us for greater levels of ability on the body. So we'll do a couple more trips now here, just to save you guys from time. You probably don't want to sit here for 5 minutes watching us run backwards. And then if you are in a gym, definitely be careful if there's equipment around. We've had people trip and fall. That's not something we want you to do. And now we'll do one all-out sprint backwards.
Go.
Ready, set, go.
Nice.
So Ruben, I know you train with athletes as well who are trying to jump higher. Is this something that you've found work with those athletes and yourself even? How do you like using this as a warm-up to further exercises to jump higher?
Absolutely. I love it because it helps to get blood flow into the patellar tendon. You're also working your quads as you push back against the ground and trains the lower legs. So there's many benefits to it, but the biggest component is that you're training the muscles that absorb the force when you're going forward, right? So that allows your body to express greater athleticism while reducing injury risk. It's really great for performance and for injury prevention. And if you don't have the space to go backwards like this, adding resistance is a great way to do it, right? That's why sled is so useful.
Yeah, definitely. I really agree on those points. Just having that lower body ability, and this does a really good job of strengthening from the ground up too. We're strengthening the feet, the ankles, the knees, even the hips with our swinging of our hips. So this will do a good job for sprinting, which I'd say requires more demand on the body, of making sure if we're able to do this at a max level backwards, we're able to, at some degree, start with forward sprinting, which is our next step. So after step 1, backwards running, we're now doing step 2, which is forward running, like I mentioned. And since we are in a small enclosed gym, if you have an air runner that's absolutely great, you could use that to actually measure your improvement over time. But if you just want to go outside and run, that's honestly even better. It's going to be more natural moving. And with this, we're building up, similarly to the backwards running, over the course of maybe 4 or 5 rounds. So we're going to start light, we're going to build up to like medium intensity, higher intensity, and then max effort. And what this helps with is it's also a very high level of shock training. Any level of running or sprinting is going to kind of put shock into the tendons, into the knees specifically on these movements. So even with building at a top end speed, your body's ability to kind of maintain that will strengthen the hamstrings and prevent any buildup error or issues in the body. So let's say you're going in for a full effort sprint or jump. By slowly and progressively building up to a top end speed, we're strengthening our hamstrings and its ability to adapt, which is gonna then make sure that when we're in our sport or in our activity, that we're more comfortable in these positions. So like I mentioned, we'll start with a lower level of backwards sprint, and with the air runner, I like having a measurable. So if you have one, find a number on the air runner that correlates well to you. For someone that's an Olympic level sprinter, 35 kilometers to 40 kilometers an hour might be their top end speed. Whereas if you're working with maybe a younger athlete or someone who's a bit smaller and can't produce as much force on the air runner, something like 20 kilometers might be something that's very good. So just use what's a good measurement for you. And I always like to reiterate that your goal should be improving yourself. Don't compare your number on the air runner to someone else, just because everyone's going to be different in terms of starting point, and how far they can progress is dependent on how much effort they put into their own improvement. So I'll demo here. Just as for me, for an example, I like to work up to 35 plus kilometers an hour. That's what I find is my top end speed. So to start, I'm going to try and build up to 20 kilometers an hour. And this maybe takes like 2 to 3 seconds. And then for you, Ruben, you could work up to whatever feels comfortable for you in terms of slowly building up to a top end speed without risking any injuries in the hamstrings or muscles that are typically overworked in these positions.
Awesome. Yeah, I like to use percentage based. I think that's great to have like measurable numbers like that. I usually go about 70 to 80% on the first one. I used to pull my hamstring all the time. Matter of fact, actually, there was an ATG seminar I came down and everybody was doing the air runner. And I was like super excited, so I started going as fast as I could. And I remember by the end of the seminar, I had pulled my hamstring.
Oh, wow.
And that was just, my own fault just for putting in so much effort. But from then on, I dedicated myself to just bulletproofing my hamstrings because I realized that was a weak link. So something that really helped me was actually really working on improving my Nordic, as well as Romanian deadlift, back extension, all of these lifts that train the posterior chain, which are supportive of the hamstrings, as well as the hamstrings directly. Right? So leg curl, all these things.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that too. That kind of ties back to mastering those lower body standards, like I mentioned before, going to more intense versions of these exercises. The hamstrings are definitely worked at an extreme level on a full effort sprint. So not only do we want to progress this, not start out at full effort sprinting, but we want to make sure we have a strength foundation to make sure when we do try to do that, that we're not jeopardizing our ability of the body. So definitely a really good point, and mastering movements like the Nordic, the hamstring curl, and like other exercises like RDL, back extension, are going to set us up really well for sprinting at a pain-free level. So now we had enough rest. Typically your rest is going to be when the other person is doing the sprinting. So now I'd go into like my second of 4 sprints, going at a little bit higher effort And like I said before, it might take like 3, 4, or 5 seconds to kind of work through that.
Nice. Good stuff.
And like I said too, what I like about the air runner is it is measurable. You'll know when you get to that unit that you're looking for, but if you're just sprinting outside or at a basketball court, like Ruben said, just go at like 70% effort, 80%, and then work up to 100% effort. Nice. Are these feeling good?
Yeah.
So,
really good.
I guess to give myself a little bit more break before the third round, what benefits have you noticed? You mentioned before how you pulled your hamstring doing this. What benefits have you noticed specifically? I know you're sprinting all the time when you're doing your plyometric training, and that you're also trying, like I said, to dunk. What benefits have you noticed from doing the sprints on a weekly basis?
Well, number one, it improves endurance, right? Because you think about it, when strength is the basis for endurance when it comes to muscle. So the same thing is when you're sprinting, you're improving, you're trying to push that red line, right? So the higher that max capacity is, the better your overall endurance is going to be. So my endurance playing sports has been better. I'm getting progressively faster. My muscles can handle more tension. It also helps to improve fat loss, right? Just redlining your heart rate once or twice a week can have greatly improved benefits on fat loss because it signals to your body to release more growth hormone. Evolutionarily, like we used to run away from, the only time we would sprint is running away from predators. So your body rewards you because it thinks you're gonna die. You're being chased by a predator. So it sends all these feel-good hormones to maintain homeostasis to help you survive. But obviously, because you're not in actual danger and you're choosing to do something like this, you get the benefits of it without the harm. So,
amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you, Ruben, for that explanation and giving me enough break to get to my third set.
Let's go.
So this will be near top end of like how fast you should be able to go. We're trying to not jump too high in progressions where you're not going from 25 to 80% effort. It's roughly like 70, 80, 90, and then 100%. And the real benefits of this comes from that 100% effort where we're putting in that max intensity, redlining as you called it, where you're going at that max effort, max speed. That's where the most of these adaptations are going to come from. And you'll kind of see how much we're straining and really trying to run as fast as we can, simulating that life or death situation as best as we could.
Right. Let's go.
All right.
Sheesh.
So
that was 32.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I'm definitely feeling pretty good. And you should never be working through pain or discomfort when doing this. You're always trying to train at a pain-free level and make sure that we're still seeing adaptation without the risk of injury. So that's why we're doing these progressions. And we find it just works well for any point in our system, even if it's just simply strength training or doing shock training workouts. Nice. Good job, Ruben. And as you'd imagine, we're getting very tired now. It's hard to talk when you're out of breath. Imagine playing a full NBA game.
How long do you recommend for somebody to rest in between the sprints?
So I'd say we should be resting a bit longer. For the sake of this video, we're kind of going through it at a more digestible pace so people don't have to wait for 5 minutes at a time. But what I'd recommend is maybe a minute's rest between each interval that you're running, just to give yourself enough time to actually fully recover. Because if you're not fully recovered, there's only so much that your body can output. We're trying to get the most benefits of max effort sprinting by doing the max effort. So especially on this top set, we're gonna wanna recover a little bit more just so we can actually reach our peak top end speed. So that could be even like a minute, 2 minutes, whatever makes you feel best and fully recovered. So it will depend from person to person, but generally I think that does a good job of making sure that you're well rested from each set to the next.
Yeah, 100%. You want to be completely fresh so you can go all out. Mm-hmm. You got one more?
Yes, I have one more. The goal is 35 kilometers an hour. I'll let you guys know what I get. I'm putting myself on the spot right now, but that would be like roughly matching what my personal best is. Whew. was like 34.9, so pretty
That's
close,
awesome.
but
Go.
it's definitely reaching that top end level to where you're gonna see the benefits of top end speed from doing these more frequently.
Yeah.
So after we do the sprints, we're gonna go to a more advanced version of horizontal and vertical force production, which will be bounding. And bounding, it's kind of like skipping. I'd say a little bit more challenging. And this definitely requires our knees to be strong to absorb landing. So it's definitely something where those lower body standards of mastering the step up or the split squat are gonna come in handy. And how that looks is, if you've ever seen triple jumping before, you're gonna swing your arms forward and then jump off of one leg at a time while picking up the leg of the opposite foot, kind of just to optimize how long you're in the air for.
Okay.
So you'd start with a little bit of a run up, and then we'll do 3 jumps. So just to kind of slow it down, it'd be like 1, 2, 3. So we're getting 3 landings. You're doing the first landing, second landing, third landing, and then we're gonna switch sides each time. So we're making sure we're getting enough lands on one leg versus the next.
Okay.
So you can start at whatever pace feels most comfortable for you. I typically advise starting maybe a little easier than you might think, just because it is a little, if you've never trained this before, unorthodox compared to sprinting.
And the goal is to go far and high?
Exactly, yeah. So think of triple jump. These guys are trying to create lots of distance in their jumps while still creating enough elevation.
Gotcha. So.
1, 2. Nice.
Okay.
And then let's
cool.
say you're trying to do this as a beginner. You can make these steps even smaller. So it'd be like 1. As you can see, I'm very exaggerating how small steps you can make if you're doing this. You can even go like 1, 2, 3. So there's no limit on how early you could start this process, as long as you know how to scale it properly. So what Ruben and I will do is we'll go through 5 sets of 3 of this, and then I'll show a more advanced version, which would then be the single leg bound. So I'll go to the next set, which is 1, 2, 3.
Wow.
And we're creating a lot of distance here, making sure that we're going for height and distance. Nice. And then similarly to the backwards and forward sprint, your rest would be the walk back or while the other person is doing their run.
Wow.
So we'll do one more, Ruben. So once you get to a point where you can comfortably do alternating legs bounding, you then, if you are at a pain-free level, do this with a single leg version. So if I were to start with my right foot, for example, it'd be like 1, 2, 3. Making sure I can absorb all 3 landings from side to side. If I couldn't do it on my left foot or my left leg, I would then continue with the double leg boundings.
Yeah.
Is that something?
That looks good. I'm going to
Yeah.
try it. What's the intent on this as far as the leg that's landing? Do you want to kick back?
Yeah, that's definitely something you can do. In sprinting, we're naturally like driving our legs into the ground
Yeah.
and training our knee flexion. So that's definitely something you can do, and it could definitely help create more distance. If it is, similarly to the double leg bounding, you can even progress it as simple as like 1, 2, 3. There's no limit on how small of steps you can take when doing this exercise.
So shorter leaps, and then is there hip flexion with the other leg? Okay.
Hip flexion with the other leg, which is bringing your leg up like this, will create more distance naturally as well. It's going to drive you forward. And then picking up the leg that you're jumping off of is also going to drive you forward a bit more, which will put more like force and distance into your jump so you can absorb more force.
Okay. Try it.
Nice. So Ruben's doing a very good job, but in your situation or in your case, what I would do is I would try and not focus on the distance as much as I would focus on being able to create height and distance while still absorbing and trying to be quiet on your feet. So for you, what you did was good, but what I would do is like this, like where you're trying to be a little bit more quiet in your feet and driving up that hip.
Got it.
That was much better. And then final note with this is we want to utilize that arm swing. So we're thrusting forward into these, which just like with the hip flexion and the knee flexion, is gonna help us create more distance. So I've been doing my right leg single leg, but now I'll do left leg just to demo that we are balancing from side to side. So it'd be like 1, 2, 3.
Wow, okay.
And then do you want to try on your off leg?
Yeah.
Okay.
Try. Let's see. Oh!
So
that was a bit, like the arm swing and everything added so much that I couldn't handle on the left leg. I'm gonna try one more time.
yeah, so that's exactly the situation then, where focus on being able to absorb before you're producing more than you can absorb.
Yeah.
Nice, Ruben. There we go. So that'll round out the bounding, which will then bring us to our second to final step, which is 2 up, 1 down jumps and depth jumps. It's been found that depth jumps, being able to land from a box height and jump after, is one of the best tools you can use to improve your vertical. However, let's say you do have an imbalance from one side to the other. It definitely can lead to injury if not handled. So an exercise we like to use that mimics this and will train single leg jumping is the 2 up, 1 down jump. And what this is gonna do is it's gonna train one leg at a time and actually improve the single leg jumping. With a depth jump, it's mainly targeting the 2 leg or standing jump, but this will make sure that we're balanced from side to side. So if you're doing a sport where you need ability to not just jump off your right leg, but also your left leg, that you have it as a reserve to be strong and have the proper knee ability to then perform max effort levels of a depth jump. So the 2 up, 1 down jump, like I mentioned, is you would do a jump, and just to show here, I'll go like half. You would do a jump, land, and then jump again. And you would do this for like sets of 3. So at full speed, you would do a jump, land, jump, land, jump, land. And what that did right there is it mimicked me jumping from a height I would usually do on a vertical, but since I'm landing on that single leg, I don't need to land from as high as I do on a 2-legged jump, just because I'm landing on only 1 leg. So if you want, you could demo that now. If you have a weaker leg, you could start with that. Sweet.
Oh, do it again?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like adult hopscotch.
It
really cool.
It definitely is a bit more challenging.
Yeah.
So let's say you're just trying to get to the rhythm of it.
Okay.
What you could do is you could jump and even just focus on the landing.
Yeah.
That's gonna help make sure that you're still having that ability to absorb before outputting. So you would start with this. Once you get comfortable with that, you could jump, land, and then jump again. And then the goal there is to do 3 repetitions of that. So you would jump, land, jump, land,
wow.
jump, land.
Bouncy. Okay.
Yeah. Nice, Ruben. Sweet. Okay. And then, of course, if we're doing the right leg, which we demoed there, you'd also do the left leg. So you would jump, land, jump, land, jump, land. And that's going to make sure that we're still balanced from side to side. Nice. Yep. Nice, Ruben. There we go. So as you can see there, it might not look impressive, but when you're jumping off of a single leg, it is of course going to be much more challenging. If you're trying to do a single leg jump, it'll be much more challenging, especially if your body doesn't have the ability to actually absorb that force first. So that's why we like using this movement. And then once you are 100% pain-free, you don't know what knee pain feels like, you can then progress to doing a depth jump. So what that would be is you would jump from a height roughly or slightly above what your vertical is, land from that box, and then you would do another jump. So it would be something like this.
Nice.
And that's gonna do a really good job of kind of making sure that we're actually working on that explosive output, being very reactive when we land from a jump. Improve that elasticity.
Right, so building that bulletproof reserve, right, this one. Cool.
So this is roughly, Ruben has a 28-inch running vertical. This is 30 inches. So this is roughly slightly above what your running vertical is. So this is gonna help improve your body to absorb before it requires that demand. So yeah, what you'll do is you'll land from this box Absorb the landing and jump up as quickly as you can.
Right. Now, I've also seen people that just land and then absorb the landing. Is that a regression?
Absolutely. You absolutely can do that. And it does a really good job of making this more of a scalable movement. If you can't do the jump itself yet, there's nothing wrong with just absorbing the landing. Nice. Very good. So me, for example, my vertical is 48 inches. So I'll be landing from a 48-inch box or slightly above it, and then doing the same thing where I'm jumping again and making sure I'm working on that elasticity.
Wow.
So
Amazing.
Trying to be quick on the ground and jumping up as high as you can after landing. Of course, it's going to be very hard to immediately jump after landing from something so high. So this has the most bang for your buck in terms of improving that reactive ability, reactive strength, elasticity, and making sure your body has the demand that it needs. Nice.
Cool. I think if I were to try this one, I would only do the
landing. There's nothing wrong with doing that too. We've had many people simply work on the altitude drops, which is landing from a higher height than what you can jump.
Right.
And that does a really good job of kind of getting their body that ability to still work on jumping higher without actually jumping.
Now, when you land from something like this, is there a certain form? Like, do you want to land on the balls of your foot, or is it just however you land? What's the perfect landing look like?
That's a good question. So you want to land, what I like to think of it is land like a cat, be very quiet. I know you have cats yourself, so you might know what this looks like.
Okay.
But you want to try and be as quiet as you can. So just, there you go. So having that ability to kind of land on the balls of your feet. So I'll mimic it here. I'll try my best. This is quite high, but I'll try my best to land and not make much noise. Obviously, there's going to be a little bit there of like contact with the floor, but it's not like I'm aggressively like falling to the ground or not controlling the landing. The most important part is controlling the landing, almost like if you see gymnasts, when they land, they're not all wobbly. They're trying to stick the landing, essentially. That's what we're looking for here as well.
Okay, amazing.
So the last step, if you want to jump higher, if you couldn't guess already, is actually jumping. So we're going to start with the penultimate push-punch jump. And that's going to be our second to last step before we actually get into the jump. And this will be the final transition before doing a full running jump. So I like doing this exercise to kind of teach the technique of jumping and still kind of simulating a very near maximal jump. So if you're going to jump with a left-right landing, you're going to start with your right leg forward, and you can kind of go through this with me if you want. And we're going to push through this right leg, left, and then punch through the same right leg. At full speed, we're trying to create enough horizontal distance to create force on the way up. So it'll look like this. You're going to start with your arms forward and swing back, and then really, with a lot of intent, push through the ground. So it'll look like this. And then stick the landing.
Okay.
So as you can see here, we're kind of putting together all the components of horizontal distance, a lot of speed going forward, being able to land from a jump, as well as being able to actually use that demand that we're putting on the body, push into the ground, exceed that ability that we have in absorbing. So what I would typically recommend is we want structural balance from side to side. So if I were to just do right-left like I did, I'd also want to do a right-left jump, which is the exact same, but you're starting with the opposite forward, and you're punching with the opposite foot forward as well. So how that would look is this. And then landing in your jump.
I stuttered.
So as you can see with Ruben, not to call you out.
Yeah, please.
It's definitely something we can work on, and that's why having that balance from side to side is so important, because if you're in a sport that requires the demand of both your left and right leg, let's say Ruben never practiced his right-left jump. If he's in a basketball game and has to land on that right leg, he might be in a very injurious position. So that's why this is a very good start, because we're able to scalably work on this ability to land and work in jump technique, like specific movements, to make sure when you do land in a jump that we're safe in these positions.
Right. Yeah.
Nice. So Ruben did a really good job demonstrating you could scale this back based on the intensity you go. So let's say that full effort was a little bit too challenging for you. You can go a little bit less, maybe like 50 or 70%. and go a little bit slower, and then jump.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention, but similarly to all of these movements, there's nothing wrong, and it's actually encouraged to start a little bit easier than like your max effort. We're not trying to immediately start with our 100% effort because, I mean, warming up is a thing for a reason. If you're warm, you're building up your tendons, and if your tendons aren't warm and we're trying to do something max effort, it can definitely lead to injury. So definitely warming up, especially in these very technical movements, will be beneficial for you.
Right, working from slow to fast.
Exactly. So what Ruben and I will now do, just to balance out side to side, I'd say let's do one more jump on each plant.
Okay.
And that way you can kind of visualize what we're shooting for, which is jump balance, being able to jump both right-left and left-right.
I've heard of that guy.
Yeah, I've heard of that guy. You can actually follow him on Instagram at Jump Balance. Just kidding, shameless plug. But here we go.
Wow.
And then sticking the landing.
It's really good.
Nice. So one last jump, and then finally, we'll just demo if you want to. We'll show what a max effort jump looks like so you can kind of understand what I mean by using this as a transition before the product, which is the max effort jumping. Nice, Ruben. The actual final step this time is the max effort jump. This is the product of all of the previous movements that we use. This is what we're training for, the max effort jump. So we're gonna use the penultimate step like I mentioned, the ability to spring forward, like bounds, sprinting, having that knee ability from backwards sprinting. And the only way that your jump is gonna get better is maximally trying that movement. I'd say if you could do fewer reps, but with higher quality, that's always gonna exceed the higher volume, lower quality. So let's say that's only 3 reps. 3 100% quality reps are better than 4 20% quality reps. So to mimic that, I'm gonna build up my run, and then I'll just try and jump as high as I can. Drew may or may not add something cool that it looks like I'm touching at the top, but we'll see how it goes.
Wow.
So, as you can see here, even though I didn't have something to touch, just reaching as high as you can and trying to maximally, with max intent, touch something is gonna do a very good job of mimicking going in with 100% effort and making the quality of the reps better than even if you aren't able to get enough quantity within these jump sessions.
Awesome.
Yeah. So this is an example where that push-punch drill will come in really handy. It's just gonna get us comfortable with the technique, with that final step of the jump.
Right.
Yes, that's much better. As you see there, you were kind of more focused. You don't have to initially go super fast in the run-up. Over time, of course, that's the end goal where you can get comfortable creating enough force forward before you do that push-punch jump. But even if it's just like a couple steps into the push-punch jump, that's another progression of max effort jumping where you could simply, as you can see, monitor how much intensity you go with the run-up before the penultimate step.
Yeah.
How did you enjoy the workout, and do you, I guess, see this carryover with the other clients that you train when it comes to jumping?
Yeah, I think this is awesome. I think that ATG itself gives you an ability to absorb more force into your joints, right? Your knees, your core, everything gets stronger. And then using this, that's also a part of the ATG system. All these are designed to help you transition into playing sports because they're a more controlled form of plyometrics. And I love it. I think with all this stuff, I can truly transform my body. I've been doing it for the past 6 months, and I can see a great improvement. Whereas when I was in high school, I had no clue how to improve my athletic ability. Now I'm actually getting more athletic, and I'm not at the goal that I want to be at. I'm not quite to the point where I'm dunking, but I'm getting measurably closer. My vertical is going up, and that coincides with my numbers going up as well. Because the truth is in the numbers, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Awesome, good work, mate.
Yeah.
So Ruben, thanks again for going through this jump workout with me.
Thank you.
On our ATG app, we actually have jump-specific programs, and a lot of them cover the same exercises that we did in this video. And I'm one of the coaches that actually can watch your form and grade you during your jumps, your bounding, your sprints. So if that's something you're interested in, I'm more than happy to help you through the app. And I'm also one of the people that takes our ATG consultation calls. So if a goal of yours is to improve your knees, jump higher, I'd be more than happy to talk with all of you guys and find a route to help you guys jump higher and live pain-free. Have a good one, and we'll see you in the next video.